There's a story. There's a story of a rich man who he was the type of man who didn't didn't care to flaunt his wealth. He was the type of man who drove around in an older model car. Now he had it well kept. He was rich after all, but he just preferred to drive around in this particular car. So it didn't. This car didn't show that how wealthy this man was, and the way he dressed, it was very modest. He's well, he was well groomed as far as his cleanliness, but he just was not a flashy man. So he decides to buy his son a very expensive car. His son had just graduated from college, and he figured that he, deserved it. His son had put in a lot of hard work to get to this achievement, to this accomplishment. So the rich man goes to a dealership. Now, mind you, this dealership has I mentioned two people in this particular situation for this story. There's one guy, very arrogant, but his sales have kind of lagged, and he really needs a pick-me-up of a good sale. But he's a very, very arrogant guy. He judges a book by its cover, so to speak. And then you have another guy, he's a rookie salesman, who is very humble and sometimes not as aggressive as he should be as a salesman. So the rich man comes into the dealership, and he approaches the arrogant man, and the arrogant salesman he looks him up and down, and then checks out the vehicle that he drove up in. So he listens, and the rich man is saying, "Well, I like to." He looks and says, "I'd like to purchase that vehicle over there." And the arrogant salesman looks at the vehicle and says, "Well, that's a pretty expensive vehicle. As a matter of fact, that's the most expensive vehicle we have on the lot. You sure you want that?" And the rich man says, "Oh yeah, I've checked things out online, and that's the one I want to get." Now, the arrogant salesman, he ponders in his head, "Oh my goodness, here's another one of these guys who just going to waste my time, and I really don't have time to waste. I need to get a good sale going here, and I really don't want to waste my time with this guy." So he passes him off on the rookie salesman, and he says, "Well, sir, I've got some other pressing business I really need to take care of," which he didn't. He says, "I'm going to have Reynolds over here to assist you in your needs." So he pushes Reynolds off the rookie onto the rich man, not knowing this. So lo and behold, the rich man goes into the office with Mr. Reynolds, the rookie. They go over the details of the car, and before you know it, Reynolds has made the biggest sale of the year and cashes in big time, while the arrogant salesman looks on in disbelief. Why? Because he didn't respect. He didn't respect. He didn't respect each individual that comes onto that lot. And that's something I was taught as a salesman also. And something similar happened with me. And that was a true story. And like I said, something similar happened with me. A person got pushed off onto me, and they were thinking that, oh, this is not a big sale. This won't garner into a big sale. But it did. As a matter of fact, that person who bought the car from me also took me out for lunch, because I was so open and honest with that person, and I gave respect. So that's today's men of honor. What all men crave, what all men want, is respect. Now, what is respect? Well, according to the encyclopedia, its definition, respect is a feeling of deep admiration for someone or something elicited by their abilities, qualities, or achievements. Or, the verb of it is admire someone or something deeply as a result of their abilities, qualities, or achievements. Respect. Respect is, like I said, what men crave, what men want. And let's go into some details about what the Bible says about respect. For instance, in Matthew 7:12, it says, and it's talking about respect. So whatever you wish that others would do to you, do also to them. For this is the law and the prophets. In other words, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And when you have that mindset, that thought process, because, talking about that story, now if you're that man going into that dealership, you want to be treated with the utmost respect. And see, this particular individual, he wants also people to come to him, not because seeing how flashy he is, or seeing how rich he is, or seeing how much money he has, but come to me because I'm a person. Treat me as a person. And deep down, that's what everybody wants, and that's what men in particular want: respect. You give it, you receive it. And that's in the general sense. Respect of mother and father. Respect of mother and father. Now that would be Exodus chapter 20, verse 12. It says, honor your mother and father, or honor father and mother, that your days may be long in the land that the Lord your God is giving you. Honor, giving honor. And also, when you give honor, you get that back in return also. Especially with a father, when he sees how respectful that son has been, he gives it back. It goes hand in hand. But that's what men want. Men want to be respected. That to a man, and I'm being honest, being straight from the hip. When it comes to a man, respect is like gold. You know, you heard the term where a man's name goes a long way. It's the same. Respect is in correlation to that. Okay, next one. Next one is respect the elderly. Respect the elderly. Leviticus 19 and 32. You shall stand up before the gray head and honor the face of an old man, and you shall fear your God. I am the Lord. Giving respect to the elderly. And that goes without saying also. When you, and like the word says, when you give respect to an elderly person, you show your dignity toward that person. You show your dignity toward that person and to everyone else. When an elderly person sees this, it makes their heart, it softens their heart if they were hard. And it's great gratitude and admiration that someone younger gives respect. And again, in return, they give respect back. Next one, respect those who work with you. Respect those who work with you. In 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verses 12 and 13. And it says, we ask you, brothers, to respect those who labor among you and are over you in the Lord and admonish you, and to esteem them very high in love because of their work. Be at peace among yourselves. Respect the people you work with. Respect the work that you do also. And once again, it comes back twofold. There's two sides to each of these situations. And both sides looking for respect. But as I said, men crave respect. Men look for respect. Respect authority. Respect authority. That's Romans 13, chapter 13, verses 1 through 7. And it says, let every person be subject to the governing authorities, for there is no authority except from God, and those that exist have been instituted by God. Therefore, whoever resists the authorities resists what God has appointed, and those who resist will incur judgment. For rulers are not a terror to good conduct, but to bad. Would you have no fear of the one who is in authority? Then do what is good, and you will receive his approval, for he is God's servant for your good. But if you do wrong, be afraid, for he does not bear the sword in vain. For he is the servant of God, an avenger who carries out God's wrath on a wrongdoer. Therefore, one must be in subjection, not only to avoid God's wrath, but also for the sake of consciousness. Authority. And sometimes this can be a tricky situation, a tricky subject. But remember, you do the will of God by adhering to those over you. Now, when it comes to, if that person is not in the will of God, not in the will of the authority that they're under, then, and only then you stray from that authority. But overall, you do the will of God by being obedient to that authority, say in your job or wherever. Because God looks for the same in return. be it respect. And last one, respect your wife. Ephesians 5:33. Ephesians 5:33. Let me get it here. Here we are. It says, however, let each of you love his wife as himself, and let the wife see that she respects her husband. Now, with a man and a woman, if you ever notice the distinctions, when it says, husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church. A woman looks for love, outward love. And then it says for a wife to respect the husband. You ever notice that? A wife to respect the husband, because we look for respect. Like I said, we crave respect, just as a woman craves to be loved outwardly and inwardly. But she craves love while we crave respect. Just something I wanted you to see and notice on that. But it points back to what I've been saying about men wanting respect. It goes two ways, it's twofold. But respect can be misplaced. It can be misplaced in many ways. I'll give you an example of that. You ever notice with gangbangers or people in the mob or any type of crime unit, organized crime, anytime you have a group of people together for the wrong reason, so to speak, what's one of the main situations that they bring about because they've gotten to that point? You ever notice that? You look back on the background and history of some of these people, you ever notice that? Whereas, and I guarantee just about every situation, it's always about, starts out with a lack of love from family. So then they venture out and seek. And then when they find that so-called love, then it gets down to what's really the core of the situation. I'm talking about men. And the core of the situation is respect. How many times have you heard in a documentary or movie where an individual in a gang or a mob always brings up the word respect? I guarantee you hear this, and pay attention anytime after you hear this video, see this video, and then you start to watch these movies. Check it out, where guaranteed you will hear the word respect in that movie at least once, but more so often, more than once. But you'll hear the word respect. No matter the movie, when it comes to organized crime, gangs, mobs, whatever it may be, you'll hear the word respect. Or you'll hear, I don't want to be disrespected. And that's how they are. But one of the quickest ways to insult a gang member or a mob member is to be disrespect them, or make them feel like they're disrespected. It all comes back to being respected. It all comes back to that. They feel like in order to get respect, I have to boss people around. I have to make them fear me. That's misplaced respect. That's wrong respect. That's respect that is not true. Respect out of fear is superficial. It's false. Respect out of love. Now that's something you can sink your teeth in. That's something that a man craves and wants, is true respect. Just like a woman wants true love. She doesn't want the superficial. Well, on the flip side, a man wants true respect, true love. Excuse me, true respect. A man gaining respect in the wrong ways. He can have many people be under him. But that false sense of respect only goes so far, because it was attained through, majority of the times, retained through fear. Fear. But when you can get it to the point of respect on a multitude of levels and people, not through fear, but purely on the fact of your dignity and what you stand for, that's true respect. That's trueness of your name being known all over town. That's what men crave. That's what men want. And for those of you who felt like in order to have respect I have to do people wrong or have them fear you, now you know. True respect is out of love. True respect is out of admiration. True respect is out of the dignity and humanity that you show towards others. Treat them the way you want to be treated, and it comes back tenfold. That's respect. That's what men want. That's what men crave. Now you know. Enough said.